Okay, welcome everyone. I would like to call to order our Board of Selectmen meeting for a Thursday, December 12th at 7:01. And our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, States of
America,
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, one second. Item number 2 on the agenda is public speak. So I'm going to start with Anne Marie Daigle.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. I'm Anne Marie Daigle. I am Vice Chair of the Andover Recreation Commission. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. Mainly, I'd like to express the Rec Commission's disagreement with statements made by our town administrator during last month's Board of Selectmen meeting on November 12th. One of the comments made was that, quote, "It's going to have to be directed by the board because the Rec Commission is not going to play with anybody unless they are forced." So I take offense to that, as do many members of the Rec Commission. I've been on the commission for over 10 years. And we have welcomed and interacted with many individuals in the community who have all come out to help us with our events and programs. So to us, that comment kind of came out of left field, if I'm being blunt. Earlier this summer, we were told that the new senior center director would be a liaison to the Rec Commission and that we'd all be working together, for the benefit of our residents of all ages. And as you know, the Rec Commission is comprised of volunteers such as myself. I mean, many of us have full-time jobs during the day. So we host our events on nights, on weekends, on holidays. We do it because we truly care about the town. We care about the residents. We do it because we want to do it. But we need to do that. We need to work together, right? So like most boards and commissions, we hold our meetings at night. We're here on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. So anybody is welcome to attend and work with us, including our new senior center director, who I also know works, part-time during the day. So, but regardless, we would still love the opportunity to meet with her and work together. And I just want to say that I know the Board of Selectmen has always been supportive of the Rec Commission, and we thank you for that. But again, we are volunteers. We have given much of our time to the town, many of us for many, many years. So if there's something that we're doing that you don't like or that you would like changed, just come to us. For a town leader to make statements like that on a public forum, that's disrespectful to us, implying some sort of wrongdoing, like with the credit card policy, whatever. That it's very disheartening, to be honest, and it comes across as being very divisive. So we're just asking.
Anne Marie, did we lose you? Okay. Let's see if the internet glitch comes back. Okay, I'll come back to her when she gets back on. Kathy Palazzi.
Hi. I just have a couple of things. I wanted to let the Board of Selectmen know our final fundraiser was well received by the residents on November 16th. And Carol Lee, my co-chair, deserves a huge thank you for the many years that she's helped me with this program. And Lisa Kurtz as well, because she's always there for us, and Emily Timmerick. Actually, we put a letter into the paper, into the bulletin, thanking all of our staff. They've just been wonderful and such great workers. And we wanted to thank everyone for the well-received, that the town really received us well this time, and we really appreciate that. Thank you. And also, I wanted to let the Board of Selectmen know that our last senior luncheon meal for 2024 will be held on Friday, December 20th at the Community and Senior Building at noontime. And we welcome any and all of you to this last meal. And we thank you for your kindness and your awesome support for the many years that we've been doing this. And also, I wanted to personally thank everyone on the Board of Selectmen for all the support they've given me for the 20+ years that I've served our seniors and volunteered for the town. Everyone should take a turn at some type of volunteering for the community. It's a great feeling. It leaves you with a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. And lastly, not on personal, but on a from the Republican Town Committee, I wanted to a gentle remind the Board of Selectmen that the Republican Town Committee endorsed Alicia Lee to represent the town to replace Paula King's position. And I would like to wish the Board of Selectmen a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Grenier?
There we go.
There we
All these buttons. Hello, good evening, everybody. And I also wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This will be our last meeting for the year. Yippee. I just wanted to mention that this week I rode by the Old Town Hall and noticed it's in great need of some power washing. And I was wondering if that's going to be on somebody's agenda, budgeted. I don't know if that's a Historical Society Beautification Committee or something that Willie takes care of, but it's looking poorly and should needs a power washing badly. So I just throw that out to you. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much. Scott Soyette.
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute. I'm just listening.
Okay. Shannon Loudon.
Thanks, Jeff. Once again, I'm just here to encourage the Board of Selectmen to choose Alicia Lee as your newest member. I want to say I know Beata and Dave are terrific people, but I think that Alicia is the best candidate for the Board of Selectmen. She grew up in Andover, she's lived here all her life, and she chose to buy a home here. And she knows quite a lot about Andover, having grown up as her mother's daughter, and knows a lot about the administration of the town. But I also want to note that a lot of people said, oh, it's just like having Carol Lee on the Board of Selectmen. Anybody who knows Alicia knows she is her own person. She is Carol's daughter, and as that, she is like Carol in that regard, has her own opinions and has her own way of doing things, and would be a terrific choice. And finally, I just want to note again, she was the one chosen by the Republican Town Committee. After a contested election, there were a number of candidates who went forward with the RTC. And as the co-chair of the DTC, if that were me, I would like our choice to be honored. That's all I have. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Elaine Buchart.
Yeah, I do like Alicia Lee. I know Alicia Lee. But I did want to put in a message in favor of Beata. I've met Beata from being on our Economic Development Commission, and she is high energy. She knows a lot of what's going on with marketing. She's a real estate agent, so she knows a lot about properties. And she's just been a delight to have on the Economic Development Commission. And so when I heard that she was looking for the Board of Selectmen, I was excited about that. So I would definitely put in a plug for Beata. She hasn't been in town long, but the amount of time she has been in town, she's been very much involved. in wanting to make sure that our town is moving forward. So that's it. Just wanted to put in my 2 cents. Thanks.
Okay. Liz Lopetch,
No, nothing tonight, just listening, and Merry Christmas to all.
Chris Hamilton,
Jeff, Chris is the rep from my senior center. He'll be presenting later.
no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I think this is Wally Barton, but I don't know, Wally owner.
Yes, it's me, Jeff.
Wally, I am waving to you on screen.
Thank you, Jeff. We wave every day.
That's right.
Just a comment, Linda and I sent a letter to the Board of Selectmen last month about an issue we had in the town office building and our early voting and same-day registration. And we haven't really gotten anything back formally from the board. And just a reminder that come November, again, we're looking at 14 days of early voting and same-day registration for the municipal election. So we'd like the consideration of the use of the community room for that in the fall. And that's about it.
Okay. Carol Lee,
Hi, on behalf of the Recreation Commission, item 10E on your agenda, credit card usage discussion. The Recreation Commission doesn't have a problem with the credit card policy because it basically mirrors the one that we currently have in effect. It just more clearly defines some of the rules. However, we do have an issue with page 5 of Eric's credit card presentation that designates Tess Grouse as the supervisor of our commission who oversees our budget. Again, it was explained to us that we are advisory to her, not vice versa. And I did just want to point out that we are not in favor of that at all, designating Tess as being in charge of our budget. Thank you.
okay. Emily Timrick,
I'll wait to the end to make some comments. Thank you.
okay. Joanne Ebert,
I'm here to listen. Thank you. All set.
Kimberly Person,
Just listening. Thank you, though.
Leanne Hutchinson,
Yes, hi. I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas as well. I wanted to quickly say thank you for 2 things. One is, I believe it was a week ago Tuesday, before we had the several inches of snow we had a week ago. We did have some snow, and Bunker Hill Road was icy, and your trucks were out. So even though it didn't look like very much snow at the time, it was quite icy. So I'm glad that the town chose to plow and treat the roads that day. And I see that some sort of materials are being implemented to try to improve the acoustics in the community room, which is a topic that I've mentioned here on Public Speak. So I'm not sure what the plan is, but I'm glad that an attempt sounds like it's being made, no pun intended, to improve the acoustics and the ability to communicate in that room.
okay, thank you. I have a phone number that ends in 4294.
That's Kim Hawes. I'm just listening. Thank you.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? Okay. If I didn't miss anyone, I would like to participate in public speak for 2 quick seconds. Oh, wait a second. Before I get started, Anne Marie Daigle is back. Anne Marie, I can't see you where you're at, but if you would like to finish public speak, she's still connecting. Sorry. Anne Marie? If you would like, we'll give you the opportunity to finish your comments.
I'm not sure when my screen froze, so I apologize. I didn't even realize that it froze. Again, I just wanted to say that I know the Board of Selectmen has always been supportive of the Rec Commission, and we appreciate that. But again, we're volunteers. We've given much of our time to the town of Andover. Some of us, many, many years, even before, I came on board. But if there's something that we're doing that you don't like or you want to see changed, come and talk to us. To have town leadership make statements on a public forum really isn't the way to do it. I mean, it's disheartening. It comes across as very divisive. Again, if we're going to continue to do these things, we need to do them together. So we're just asking you as a board to please consider that. Thank you.
All right, did I miss anyone else? Anybody want to put up their hand? No? Okay, I have a couple quick questions. Comments. I'm holding up the River East. Anybody wants to take a picture of me in the River East and put it in there, it'd be fine. This issue of the River East, there was a nice letter in, and I do not write to the River East. I do not engage in the banter back and forth. I want to thank the River East first and foremost for eliminating all national issue editorials. I think it's been very beneficial to the town of Andover to not have all of the discourse that has been laundered in the editorial sections done. And I hope that the River East will continue that moving forward. But I did want to bring to the attention, and I'm sure a lot of you read it, that on page 5 of this issue, in a note from one of our residents, it was made plain that I attempted a coup on the government of the town of Andover. And if I have done that, I apologize. I thought we were all voting in a referendum on issues that were brought up by a charter revision commission. And I kind of chuckled at that someone like Bob Hamburger, a graduate of MIT's Board School of Engineering, and Jeff McGuire, a graduate of the University of Connecticut with an accounting degree or the School of Business, were attempting a coup on the town of Andover, and that is how it is. By definition, a coup is a violent overthrow of a duly elected government, which would mean I'd have to kill myself. So I just like to sit there and bring that out, that the discourse that we have in local politics or politics in general doesn't need to be that way. I think it just needs to be that we will disagree sometimes, and hopefully if we disagree, we can come to a resolution that everybody works for. So I just wanted to bring that out, that those types of rants to the public do nothing to try to get people of qualification to come and do these jobs and try to work for the benefit of the community. So if people out there think I attempted a coup, I apologize. I didn't. I don't even have a gun license. So I figured I'd just bring that out because this is my forum and this is where I choose to do the good work of the community. So anyway, now we can move on. I'm done with public speak for my part. So we are moving on to item 3, additions and changes to the agenda. Does anybody want to add or delete anything from the current agenda? Jeff Murray.
I'd like to add 11C, community center staff programs and reviews, staff reviews. We can actually call it community center staff reviews, staff and program reviews. And I'd like to add 11D, public works auctions.
Works auctions. Okay, anybody else? Anybody want to second those 2 items?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Item 4, board and commission presentations. Do we have any? I didn't see any in the packet.
We do not.
Okay. Item 5, appointments. Do we have any?
There are none.
Okay. Item 6, resignations. The resident state trooper Sebastian Nishi has resigned. He will be leaving his post as the resident state trooper of Andover at the end of this month, I believe, Eric.
Correct.
Okay.
There's-
I'd
There
like
is
to,
one. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say there is one additional one. The assistant town clerk has submitted her resignation.
Okay. Therese is resigned. Okay. So, back to Sebastian. I'd like to publicly thank Sebastian for his years of service. He has been, very interactive and has represented the state police, incredibly well in the town of Andover and has done a very good job. And on top of that, he has a pretty good singing voice. So I'd like to thank Sebastian publicly for his time spent in Andover and wish him well in the future. All right. On the other issue, on the other resignation, we'll deal with that later. I don't think it needs to be dealt with right now. So item 7, does anybody else have any other issues related to the resignations? Any other issues? No. Item 7, presentation from My Active Center, Chris Hamilton. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you for having. My name is Chris Hamilton. I'm from the organization My Senior Center. We provide software to communities and senior and community centers around the country. We're based in Massachusetts, but we're fortunate enough to work with over 2,000 communities across the country, including 70 in Connecticut. I had an opportunity to present the My Senior Centers and My Active Center system to Eric and Tess a couple of months ago, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to give everybody an overview here at this organization, at this forum rather. I am going to share my screen. Hopefully this works out the way that I'm planning. Just to give you a more of an overview of who we are. We're actually officially in December now, so it's our 20th anniversary. So we've been doing this for 20 years. You don't have to applaud. That's all right. Thank you. But this is all we do, is work with communities around the country to implement software-based system to help with automating check-in, better data collection, online registration, give people a way to leverage their community-based resources in a more efficient way so that the staff at community center doesn't have to worry about keeping track of things on paper. I heard credit cards mentioned a couple of times. We do have credit card processing built into our system so that if anyone is signing up for a class or a program that has a fee associated with it, they can even pay for those things right through the My Active Center system. I have about 20 minutes. Is that right, Jeff?
20 minutes. If you can do it shorter, that would be appreciated.
I can. So the only reason I asked that is because I want to show you a couple of pictures first before I give you a quick overview of what it does. Part of the My Senior Center system is that there's a touchscreen check-in system that can be in the senior center itself. This is where people will scan a card, touch the screen for the things that they want to do. That eliminates the need for sign-in sheets for paper-based processes so that Tess now has all that information and access to who is doing what sort of programs to be able to supply reports. We also supply, as I mentioned earlier, an online registration system. The online registration is just a public-facing website, My Active Center, that people can go to from their own home computers, their smartphones, their tablets, see all the different activities that are going on and sign up for those activities right from the comfort of their own device. And then when they walk into the center, or if it's something happening at the gymnasium, they go there, they're already signed up. If it has a fee associated with it, they could have already paid online. And it takes care of all that management of those types of things by using the software system. If there are offsite events, things like an activity in a parking lot or something like that, there is the opportunity to check in at other locations as well. The credit card processing, I know this is a little, I can see that it's a little staggered as it pops up on the screen, but credit card processing, we also have even integration with virtual programs. So if you wanted, if the community center wanted to have a Zoom class open to the public, they can actually manage that all through our software, send out invitations automatically, and people can just click on the link and check in for those things right through their Zoom interface from their own computer, and then the programming can continue. And really, this is about eliminating a lot of paper-based processes, streamlining the back-end management of keeping track of scheduling, keeping track of who's coming to these different activities, and then ultimately the reporting, being able to get nice clean data out of the system to be able to say, here's how many people used our great community center, here's how many people signed up for adult basketball, here's how many people are doing these types of things, and then even slicing and dicing it to drill down to the demographic level information to see, how many people between the ages of 70 and 79 participated in these programs versus those who are in their 60s. So it gives you access to all that sort of information. So I wanted to leave the floor open for people to ask questions about the My Senior Center and My Active Center system, or anything about how it could be used.
So the system is going to allow us to coordinate all of our different assets in the scheduling related to those assets so that we have it in one place.
That is the basic gist of it, yes. And
Okay.
and not knowing the full roster of those assets to which you refer, I hesitate to jump into that fully, but most likely, yes.
We have the center, we have a gymnasium, and we have a field.
Perfect.
Am I missing anything from anybody else? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else with any other questions? Is there anything else you're bringing to us, Chris, or was that the last page?
Well, I mean, I have lots more, but I wanted to be sensitive to the amount of time. I wanted to even show you some things about what it does. One of those is, of course, the touchscreen check-in system. But before I go into that, one of the other things I wanted to mention is part of this system also gives the community center the ability to send out broadcast communications just on their own, sort of a reverse 911 system. So they can say, show me all the people that are interested in these programs, and I have to let them know that due to the snowstorm, we're postponing that program. They can just with 30 seconds, pull up the list of people, record a message using their own phone, and then My Senior Center sends it out for them. So that can be done in voice, text, or email communication to really help streamline communications with people who are participating in the different programs. Okay. So at the center, I want to show you this touchscreen. Acton is where I live, in Acton, Massachusetts. If you see in my little camera view, I've got a key tag. So each participant at the center will have a key tag that's been assigned to them. They'll walk into the center, wave that tag in front of the screen. Information, anything that's relevant to them, for perhaps their annual membership fee is about to expire, pops up on the screen. And then they touch the activities on the screen for whatever it is that they're going to be doing that day. Yes, I'm not going to sue the center. I can even sign, so it can pop up an exercise waiver or anything like that on the screen. They're also going to be doing yoga. They hit finish, and then they're off and into the center. Now on that screen, you might have noticed this is a senior specific application. So this is large font, bright blue on the white background. So we worked with the American Society on Aging when we were designing this 20 years ago to give us guidance on the right font size and color palette so that people with limited visibility would have the best opportunity to be able to use the screen. So we've had that built in there from the beginning. The online registration system is something that can be used by everybody, regardless of age, for the different programs that are going on. This is something that I mentioned, it can be used from a computer, from a tablet, from a smartphone. They can log in here, see all the different things that are going on within your community, all at the different assets that you have, the gymnasium, the field, and the community center, and they can sign up for those things right from here. So if this is a free program, great, I just add it to my cart, doesn't actually cost me anything. We've got a little proximity algorithm going on over there so you can see what else might be interesting, and then I can go ahead and add that in. So I also have to renew my annual membership fee, so I can do that right here on the screen if I want to and pay for that thing. Or because I happen to have wallet balance available to me. So I've got money on my account in the community center or within the town, whoever actually is using this thing. So I can decide to leverage my existing credit balance that I have on my wallet and pay for those things that way. Otherwise, I would have put in my credit card information, or if you don't take credit cards, you don't want to yet, you could say, yep, I'll pay that later when I get to the center, or I'll write a check. But this is a really nice way to do it. You can print out your own receipt. You can email this receipt to yourself. And again, the idea is to streamline a lot of paper-based processes and things that normally would take a lot of human involvement to take care of and manage. All of that stuff can be done within the software system. So that's what I wanted to show you. Again, being sensitive to the time, I didn't want to overstay my welcome, but to give you an idea of what it looks like.
Okay. Do any of the other members of the board have any questions for Chris and the product that he's showing us?
Eric and Tess, did you go to you must have had a meeting with Chris. Did it seem like a good system that everyone is going to be able to use?
I'll say from my part, we had a demonstration here, an hour and a half long demonstration, which went a lot more in depth into its features. We also visited another senior center that had this system, and watched how the people, both on the administration end as well as the public, interacted with it. And I was very impressed with how seamless the experience was for people coming into the center. And then also on the administrative end, how the person in charge, was able to change programming, put programming up, and kind of administer the system. So I overall, I think it's a pretty good fit for us, but obviously it comes with some cost.
Right.
I was wondering what the cost is. We're just starting out, so I was wondering how much it's going to cost.
Sure. So the pricing information that I gave to Eric, and I think that you included that in your packet information, Eric, it's $4,800 in year one, and then $1,700 a year annually after that. So starting in year two. And that includes the touchscreen computer and all the software elements that I've just shown you, plus access to our tech support team, who are available from 8:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, 5 days a week. It also includes the web-based training, initial import of any client data that you might have in electronic format, like a spreadsheet. Worst case, we can get information from town clerk about the census level information and import that in there. So lots of different ways to get that data in there, but all that cost is wrapped up in that initial $4,800.
Is that the advertising-based platform?
That is, yes, that is the sponsor-based platform. The other one is, I think I'm forgetting what my Connecticut price is. We have a lower price for Connecticut than other states, well, than other non-New England states. I believe it's $8,500 for the non-sponsor-based version.
Okay. Anyone else?
What if somebody forgets their check-in tag? Still get in?
Still get in, Scott. I was hoping someone would ask me that. That's the sign in, I don't have my tag button right up here. So they can access it with their first name and their phone number.
Okay.
And I'm just
Well-
sometimes, I sometimes have difficulty with figuring out stuff on the computer. Is this a pretty simple program for Test or wherever else is in the community center managing this? How much computer knowledge do you have to have in programming and stuff?
To utilize the touchscreen, no computer knowledge at all. Most people tell us it's easier to use than the ATM, and nobody showed me how to use that. On the staff side of things, we like to tell people that in order to make the best use of the staff function, to do the scheduling, to run the reports, to manage the client database, if you've ever had experience with Microsoft Excel and have a relative of proficiency of that. You don't have to be an Excel guru, but relative proficiency with Excel, then you're going to handle this just fine. We do have a full training team that works with people to get you off the ground. So working with Tess from the very beginning to show her how to do everything, how to build the activities, build the scheduling, how to run reports. So that's all part of the initial package. And you know, fortunately for us, we've been doing this for a while. We work with over 2,000 different communities around the country. We've got nearly 3 million seniors interacting with our touchscreens on a daily basis, and somewhere on the magnitude of 50 to 60,000 staff members logged in every single day.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions for Chris? Chris, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. And,
Thank you, Chris.
getting back through Eric and Tess to you regarding what we can get done.
Excellent. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 8, appointment of a new Board of Selectmen member, candidate interviews. I had reached out to all of the prospective candidates on the list. I spoke to Dave Gastanian. He is he's withdrawing from consideration. So he is not, we will not be hearing from Dave. Unless anyone else has any other issues, I'm going to move on to Beata. Beata, as I had spoken to you before, and Alicia, 5 minutes for presentation, and then field some questions from the members of the board. Okay. All right, you're up.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Beata Godowski. Most of you know me, some of you don't, but I am a dedicated business owner, community advocate, and proud resident of Andover. With a background in business administration and over a decade of experience in business management, financial planning, and operational leadership, I am passionate about using my skills to support the growth and well-being of our town. From leading my own real estate business to my time managing teams at Enterprise, I've developed a strong foundation in strategic planning, negotiation, and problem solving that I believe would benefit the Board of Selectmen. I am genuinely committed to making Andover an even better place to live, ensuring we maintain our community's character while embracing opportunities for sustainable growth. Since moving to Andover, I've become more involved in town activities because I would like to see the younger demographic represented on our town boards and committees a little bit more. I'm not someone who sits back and waits for things to change. When I see opportunities for improvement, I take action. And that's why I'm here, to be a proactive voice and to contribute to Andover's progress. Recently, I did join the Economic Development Commission, as you heard Elaine say, as both a business owner and a strong supporter of local small businesses. My goal there is to help current local businesses succeed and to attract more businesses to Andover. This not only boosts our local economy, but also helps reduce the tax burden on residents, making our town more sustainable and financially balanced. I bring a unique perspective because I actually live in a multi-generational household. My mother, who lives with me and participates in many senior activities, has provided me with a deeper understanding of the senior community's needs, especially since I have been attending senior lunches and events with her over the past 6 months. At the same time, I am a parent with kids in Andover Elementary School, so I see firsthand what's important for families and young children in Andover. Over my years, I've gained substantial experience working in diverse, dynamic groups to set and achieve goals and solve complex problems. I work well under pressure and always approach challenges with an open mind, listening to different perspectives to find the best solutions for everyone involved. Above all, I'm genuinely invested in Andover's future on many levels. I want to see our town continue to grow and flourish as a place where people of all ages can thrive. I am committed to supporting initiatives that help Andover remain a welcoming, vibrant, and prosperous community. And I thank you all for your consideration and your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any members of the board have any questions for Beata? Okay. Beata, that was easy.
How I like to keep it, Jeff.
That's it. Thank you for your time and for putting your name in the hat. It's greatly appreciated. I definitely appreciate people that will sit there and put their name forward to sit there and take these roles, because they are all a volunteer and they're not really paid. So thank you for putting your name out there. It's appreciated. Right. Alicia Lee, you
Hello,
hi, how are you?
good, how are you?
Good.
I just wanted to thank everyone for their consideration and giving me this opportunity. The reason why I wanted to come forward and volunteer and be considered for this position. I've been a lifelong resident of Andover, born and raised here. I love the town. That's why I chose to buy a house here. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews that are active in the school system that I love, and they're everything to me. I have a background in, I went to school, so I have my bachelor's in nursing, but I switched careers and I have my master's degree in business management and public health. I run a business, I'm a managing partner. So I run a restaurant. So I am I'm very detail oriented. I have a good use of time management, people skills, customer service, communication, and cash management. I bring 10 years experience handling budgeting, inventory, profit and loss, HR, and staffing of 40+ employees. And I would really like this opportunity. Thank you.
Jeff, you're muted.
I apologize for that. I'm sorry. Alicia, thank you very much for that. Do any other members have any questions for Alicia? Okay, Alicia, that was easy. Thank you very much for coming forward. It's greatly appreciated.
I like to keep it short and sweet.
I appreciate that. So we don't have anything for Dave. Any of the other members have anything for either one of the candidates? Okay. Eric, I think I am the co-host. So what am I required to do to move to executive session for candidate discussions?
You have to motion to go into executive session. And then you have to remove everybody, or you can let me remove everybody, and then at the end, you can remove me.
Okay.
Well, you're not removing them, you're just putting everybody in the waiting
room. All right. Please put everyone into the waiting room. I'll make a motion that we move to executive session for candidate discussions.
Okay.
Got a second? Anybody?
Second.
A second.
All right. Scott,
Recording stopped.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we stopped a little early, but that's okay. So Eric, if you can put everybody into the waiting room.
Okay, and so you want just the 4 Board of Selectmen members, everybody else in the waiting room, or you're asking the
Everybody.
candidates in, or what do you, just the
No.
4 board members?
Just the 4 board members.
Okay,
We are on to item 8C, nomination and appointment of Board of Selectmen candidate to replace Paula King.
I'd like to nominate Beata I'm gonna mess up this. Beata Gadomski, is that right?
Domsky, yeah.
I'd like to nominate Beata.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, 2-2.
I'd like to nominate Alicia Lee for the selectman position.
Second that.
All those in favor? All those opposed? 2-2. We're going to move on from this. Apologize to the candidates. Hopefully that, we could have done this a little differently, but again, I apologize. Thank you for coming forth. And again, I apologize. We're going to move on to item 9, the town administrator's report.
okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So I'm mostly gonna talk about the things that have occurred since I gave you the original report, which is just a couple days ago. Again, just the note that the assistant town clerk has resigned. As far as the resident state trooper goes, the troop should be assigning us a temporary resident state trooper in the next week. So Sebastian has a chance to show them around the town before they transition. I would really like to thank Sebastian for the last 3 years of service to the town as a resident state trooper. He was a pleasure to work with. I did poll the board earlier in the week about locking in for both the heating oil and diesel fuel. We did lock in today. We use a lot more diesel fuel than heating oil, so that's the one I focus on. We locked in this year at $2.57 a gallon, which was down from $2.90 a gallon last year. So that's good. Happy with that. And interrupt me if you have any questions. The fire department was able to sell that second fire truck they had. As you remember, the Board of Selectmen gave them permission to broker both their vehicles because the dealer was only going to give them a $15,000 credit for both vehicles for turning them in. So they've now managed to sell both the vehicles for considerably more than that. So I think that worked out pretty well. It's looking like the new squad vehicle will be delivered in the March to May timeframe. That's all the information we have about that. All the department heads and committees have gotten their budget worksheets for the year, and they're due back to me around January 1. So the Bunker Hill Bridge, I did submit an 8-24 statutory referral on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. That's a regulatory thing where they have to weigh in on any major municipal improvement. And so I did send that. They did reply in the affirmative, and I do have the letter to that. As I talked last month, we are working with Webster Bank on coming up with the exact terms and conditions for a line of credit for the town to be used for the Bunker Hill Bridge project. The town's attorney says that will need to go to town meeting. So we need to probably plan on that in the January or February time frame. Again, that is to essentially provide swing financing from between the time we get billed by the contractors and the time we get reimbursed by the state and federal government. This is fully funded between state and federal dollars, but we are on the hook to pay the contractors. Barring anything major, that's 1 month to 2 months or so between the time we get charged and we can get refunded. Now, we do have about $500,000 in the Bunker Hill Bridge Fund. So the smaller months we can pay in-house, but there's going to be at least 1 or 2 big months when they're delivering the main bridge members where we're going to be out of pocket somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million. So the treasurer's recommending that we go for a line of credit as opposed to taking it all out of unexpended fund balance.
Okay, let's circle back to that, because isn't the issue that we're going for a line of credit because our general fund monies are in the STIF account earning interest?
Well, that in some ways makes it smarter to finance through a line of credit, because even if we end up paying 7% interest or 8% interest, we're getting 5% interest on the money that's in the account. So it is a net benefit, but it's also a question of what happens when we put out $1 million, and we get hit with a natural disaster. We've chewed up a pretty significant portion of our unexpended fund balance. So that's her rationale for thinking that that's a smarter way to approach it.
Okay, before we draw on that, we really need to have a conversation and understand, because to me, there's zero reason to pay interest, any extra interest on monies that we have available that are in the general fund. They're just in the stiff account, and they may be earning 5%, and the line of credit might charge us 7%. So I want to make sure that the town is not incurring any additional interest costs because of the choice of using this. I get it if there's money that's not available, but that's not the position that this town is in. So
If
I
the
agree
board,
with setting it up. I agree with setting it up. I really want to understand the usage requirements
Me
when
too.
it's necessary.
okay. So how do you want to, what is it that you want? What's my deliverable?
You're all, so Eric, what you're doing is you're going through and you're setting up the line of credit. I'm okay with that. What I want to
Well,
make sure we're clear of is why we're using it and when we're using it.
right. And what I'm saying is we're just going through and getting the bank information for what the terms of that line of credit will be. I'm not authorized to sign for a line of credit on behalf of the town. That would be something the Board of Selectmen and Finance would have to agree to, but we don't even have the outline of the agreement yet. So I'm just saying we're working through getting that information to you.
Understood. Yep. And I'm going to the next step. We put it in place. It's already in place. Why are we using the money? And that's the question. That's going to be my question. Like, I don't want to sit there and see the town incur additional interest costs when we have money that's sitting in an account earning less money than the potential interest rate on the line of credit. That's where I'm at. So we'll sit there and get to that point. Put the line of credit in place. I've signed the paperwork to sit there and try to get to give the information they needed related to my position. So move forward, but understand that we really got to work on why we're going to use the money.
Understood. Okay, so just a reminder that there will be a wreath laying ceremony for Wreaths Across America Saturday at the Veterans Monument Park. Joe Courtney, Representative Courtney, will be there, as will Steve Weir. MD Rahman has not said back yet one way or the other whether he will or will not be able to make it.
What time?
It is at noon.
Okay.
Okay. There are two things related to AES. One, I just got it today, so it's not in the packet. I will send to the Board of Selectmen what I received from the Board of Education for their proposal for hiring an MEP for the bathroom renovation project. And I also got a request to sign documentation for the solar project. I'm going to forward that to the board. That's another one where I don't really think I have the authorization to sign that. That's got to be a Board of Selectmen review and discussion. Community center updates aren't really changed. If anybody on the Board of Selectmen or anybody else wants to be part of a decision-making project of figuring out what furniture would be appropriate for the community room to reconfigure that as a full-time meeting space, I'd love to help on that. And the Bunker Hill Bridge is still tentatively scheduled, or more close to more realistically scheduled for work to start in the beginning of February with the utility relocation. And then about April 1, the road being closed and major construction occurring. The school has been notified of that because that will affect the bus routes. But that is moving around. We should be getting to the tree cutting that will be the town's responsibility, hopefully by the middle of next week. That is the plan for that. That's it. Those are the kind of changes to my report. And I'm happy to take any questions relative to that.
The one question on the assistant town clerk, did she take another job?
Yes, she did.
Okay. In another town clerk's office?
Yes.
Eric, where is the Hutchinson Road, the talks with the DOT and Hutchinson Road? Has there been any talk about it lately?
Not lately. I did bring that up actually yesterday with the town engineer, and reminded them that I needed him to make progress on that. Because I don't want to be stuck with a road closure there. If that culvert does fail fully, that he needed to line that up with the DOT and start working on that again.
Has anybody down to check on that culvert?
I looked at it about a month ago. I haven't looked at it, kind of since then.
We had a lot of rain yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for the town administrator? And Jeff, anything?
I was wondering where the Welcome to Andover sign installation is going.
Well, the contractor has said he has it built. The public works foreman has dug the holes and flattened off the area as he requested. So hopefully he will get in and put the sign in at some point.
So
But I
it's
don't
the
have a
man-
firm date for them.
The man who built the sign who's gonna put it in now, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for Eric? All right, we're gonna move on to item 10, old business, discuss and act upon the community center signage discussion. This one's kind of on me. I still need to sit there and get the drawing. We were talking about a backlit sign and some different options. And I need to sit there and work on that and get that done. So that one is more on me than anybody else. Okay, any other issues on that? 10B, discussion of blight and level of involvement. Eric, that is on page 8 of this package. Are there any issues that you want to address with us or anything that we need to deal with?
I don't think there's anything at this point that needs the Board of Selectmen involvement. I'm just, you had asked for a monthly updated schedule, so I got that from the zoning enforcement officer, who's working well, and we're in the middle of transitioning that from Jim Hallisey to Wayne, who will be the new CEO sometime in the next month or two.
Okay, any of the members of the board have any issues they want to address related to the list?
Jeff, can I back up real quick? I just had to step out for a minute. Eric's administrator report. I just wanted an update on the fans in the gym and where we're sitting on the garage for the buses on Center Street, because I didn't see that in your report.
No, so as far as the fans go, I finally this week gave up on C Ward. So I had gotten 2 bids, one complete bid from Lenco, one bid from C Ward that didn't include any of the controls. And I've been trying for a couple of months to get him to give me a full proposal for that included the controls, but he's just not gotten it. So I told Lenco today that I would give him the the job for that. And I left it on the assistant finance directors to order the D-Strat fans. So my goal is to order the D-Strat fans next week. So we can schedule, so we can get that ready to roll.
Okay, I just, yeah, and if you need any help, Lincoln needs any technical assistance or help, I'm sure I could help, or I could even probably, get Bob Herrenberger to pitch in.
Sure.
He's a controls guy, so he could probably help us too.
Yeah, understood. Frankly, the Center Street project, I have not put any effort into that in the last month or month and a half. I know that project needs to get done, but right now I have more projects than I can practically administer. I'm trying not to let that one slip by, but I also haven't made any progress on it. I'll be the first to admit that.
So do you need some help from the board to kind of prioritize things, or do you need to like just give us a list of your projects and we kind of go prioritize things the way we want to do it? Or I don't know what the rest of the board thinks about that. I mean, that garage has been kind of sitting on our radar for a while now, and
Yeah, and I mean it was stalled for a long time because I couldn't get it through SHPO, but I finally got SHPO approval. So yeah.
okay.
Yep.
What's the timing on the grant?
We got quite a while before we have to worry about coming up on the end of that, and we can always ask for an extension. It's not a question of that. It's really just a question of approach. And the other thing, just being realistic about that one, is that grant is because we had assumed that was not a prevailing wage project. Once the Department of Labor made it clear that was a prevailing wage project, that is going to bump the costs up pretty considerably. Now, part of what I'm trying to do is with the field project and the project for the playgrounds and pickleball courts and kind of the phase 2 of the Riverside Drive project, is be able to use the majority of the town's contribution as labor in kind by Public Works. If I can do that, then the money that was allocated for that project should be enough to complete the other. So, so that's kind of what I have in my head. But there's a committee that's working on the field, so I don't have anywhere near as much administrative responsibility for that as I do the other one. The other one at this point is pretty much all me. So, yeah.
Well, I think going back to what Jeff requested is, can you get a list of the projects you're working on? And then what we can do is we can prioritize as a board where we want you to sit there and focus.
Sure, happy to do that. I mean, the overall project list hasn't changed since we had the meeting in the fall and I gave you the project schedule, or the project list. I can certainly resend that to the board.
And resend it to us.
Sure.
yeah, and if you could just add, if just like a thumbnail, like
sure, where we are.
Completion percentage, like if you're 10% done, 50% done, 70% done or not started. That way we can kind of see where we're at with everything.
Sure.
Yep. Try to get some of this stuff done. Prioritize things for you.
Yep. Not a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? No. Okay, so we were on 10C, burnout clock discussion.
Correct.
Where are we with this? I mean, the last time I know go ahead, Ann.
I'm waiting for Dennis to write up an agreement or a contract between the owner of the clock and us in the town. 2 months ago, I sent all the information to him and he has not done anything on it, I guess. I emailed him again today. I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, he's in New Orleans at the moment, so I don't think you'll get a response back from him for a few days. But he should be back at the end of this week or early next week. So
I will make it a point to call him and ask him where he's at with that. And then have we found a spot for this clock? Have we finalized it? I mean, I think the last time we talked about the I probably say it wrong, but the community room in the town hall that we were talking about being a meeting space, of putting it there. Because we talked about it in the senior center and not being in the community senior center, not being appropriate. So have we, I know we haven't agreed to a space. So anyway, I'll contact Dennis and sit there and see where he is with your contract, Dan, and we'll move on from there. And then we'll decide where it's going to go. And Eric, I'm assuming that clock could go into the layout that you're talking about wanting help with for that room, about how it's set up.
yes, you could accommodate the clock in there on one of the three walls, probably not the wall that the TV screen is on, but the other three walls, you could probably accommodate the clock if that was what the board wanted.
Okay, so if we, do it as a layout, as a potential location, not a final location, but a potential location that we would vote on, it would be in the design of the layout of that potential meeting space, which is just another option and nothing final, just a talking through it. So let's sit there and think about that, Eric, in that space, if we're going to set it up for a permanent meeting room, and then it would have a permanent spot that could be protected in the space. So, okay. 10D solar at AES. I know that you got something, Eric, but have we gotten back from the Board of Education any information on that far roof? As to, we know that far roof and that school is the oldest and it's going to end up needing replacing before the other areas, but have there been any communication on this?
There has not. I thought you were going to have a conversation with Celeste regarding that, but I have not gotten any information back from.
Did, but not on the details related to the issues that Jeff Murray brought up at the last meeting about, and forgive me, I'm not an electrical engineer, where the wiring is trending down that one small roof. Jeff was recommending it be moved, but I don't know if that's been addressed either.
Yeah. I mean, I still have some concerns about whether that should go to public meeting. Because that agreement does confer some obligations on the town. I realize it's a little questionable reading the charter. It kind of comes down to the definition of what a PPA is and how you define it. But, there's definitely some negative terms.
Well, let's try to help shepherd this project through. The issues from my end really end up being the age of the far roof and the issue that Jeff Murray brought up.
Sure.
So,
well, now,
I mean, I just personally, the more I think about it, it's just, and I kind of agree with Eric, it's right at the point of being a viable solar project because it's single phase. I mean, down the road, it would be, more efficient is getting it connected to a 3-phase system. So if we put something, maybe at the old firehouse or, for the garage project down the road, or, even there was an article lately about, there was a town in Connecticut that just put solar farm on their transfer station or their old landfill. And it was very successful. And, if we do any industrial development down the road, we're probably going to have to put 3-phase in that area. So like somewhere about, where our current landfill is now, we don't have 3-phase power. We have compactors up there. I mean, if we put 3-phase power up in that area, I know it'd be a sizable project, but it would open all that whole area for development. So especially if we wanted to get it into some commercial development, we would definitely need 3-phase power. So it's just something we should look at in the future, because I don't think this is probably the best project for solar. So that's just my personal feeling.
Where is their three-phase power?
At the, there is actually at the old firehouse, it's three-phase. Because it comes up,
There's-
it can't go, it couldn't go along Route 6. It used to go up Center Street, and then it used to go because of the trestle, I believe. Am I correct, Eric?
So there is three-phase power available to a portion of Center Street. It does run down Center Street and then go back down 316. And I think it's an issue in the sense that it reduces the optimal size of the solar array going on the roof. But looking at the town's cost per kilowatt hour for electricity, it's still, in my mind, a really good deal. I mean, it still ultimately saves the town about $25,000 a year to execute that solar project if we can. And I also look at it and say, you know, even if we did have to remove part of the system in 5 years, you know, we're still $125,000 ahead at that point. And our cost of removing it off of that one roof, I suspect, is less than that. So I suspect even if we do have a problem in that roof, as long as we don't have it on year one, you know, or year two, we're probably ahead of the game. So that's one thought. That now the point that Adrian brought up, I had a discussion with him about that because I know he was involved in the re-roofing project, and he reminded me that the town spent extra money to get a much longer warranty, you know, on the roof of that school, but that was also predicated on them installing walk panels for access up there. And because they had very minimal HVAC and things on the roof, there are not many walk panels on there. And you really don't want to be having lots of people treading across a EPDM roof on a regular basis. So I do think when we get something more like a final design back from the company, we need to be reviewing that and making sure that you know, that is done as part of the project, so we don't buy into problems. But we just haven't seen a final project back from them yet, or in any kind of engineering design. So while I'm optimistic at this point, you know, we'd have to see you know, essentially a fleshed out proposal, I think.
From the Board of Ed meeting last night, they are having some final inspections done on the roof and its condition during Christmas break. The structural engineers from the solar company are going to be there at the school and do inspection. And if it passes those inspections, then they will be coming to the town for the necessary permits. So you should know all the details after that.
Good. And I do agree that we should be looking at solar on other town buildings and other locations, but I don't think it's an either or, you know.
Yeah, I just think because we have a school roof, I mean, we are gonna be getting some revenue from it, but if efficiency wise, like you were saying, it's just not the most ideal setup that we'd be having on there. So
What would it cost us to bring three-phase to the town office complex? The school as well?
I don't know, when we looked at it from doing it at the transfer station a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, well, actually when I first got here, so probably more like 5 years ago, Eversource quoted me basically $1 million a mile. So it's probably a quarter mile to get it up to the school. So, and then, but it's not just the cost of bringing in the power, it's also the cost of us turning around, because three-phase does go up 316 to you know, so it's not that far from the school. But we would also be talking about changing out the main electrical service in the building to three-phase switchgear. And that would not be an inexpensive, I mean, Jeff probably knows better than me, but seems to me that's $150,000 project in and of itself by the time you really convert the whole school over to that.
Well, we wouldn't have to convert the whole school at the one point. We would just have the solar array and we'd have the three-phase power available. And then that way, if we had upgrades in the future, we could do that at that time. Or if we had a residential project that happened in the back on that property, we would have necessary, I mean, three-phase power is just a lot more bang for the buck than a single phase line, so. And it offers commercial development as well, because a lot of commercial machines, anything that does machining, baking, anything like that usually is a three-phase unit, so.
Okay, we should be thinking about that. We should be looking at putting that in our plan of conservation and development to bring three-phase to different spots in town. I know there's three-phase at the bottom of Lake Road and upwards to Lake Road to the intersection. I don't know what that Merritt Valley, I think it might be Merritt Valley is right there, but those are things that we should put in our plan of conservation and development to sit there and try to make the town more appealing for development of certain kinds. This one is a time issue. So we're not going to get three-phase to that school before this solar roof would get put on. And so let's see what they end up saying about the roof condition. That will be interesting. And then we can sit there and go back, because I personally think that if Eric's numbers are correct, I'm in favor of the solar on the roof, with the anticipated understanding that we got a portion of that roof that will need to be, the panels would need to be removed and then a roof replaced at some point in time in the next 10 to 15 years, hopefully. But let's sit there and see what the roof condition assessment comes in at. We'll come back to it. The other part of it is we better understand if there needs to be a town meeting on this, Eric. Because if there needs to be a town meeting on this, we need to schedule it. And since we're talking about town meetings, one thing I thought was interesting in the editorial that said I was going to do a coup is there was 1,800 voters that came to vote in our town election, which I think is great. But as a board, where would we ever put 1,800 people if they came for a town meeting? I mean, I know I've thought about it, but have we all thought about what we do? Because we can never fit 1,800 people in an indoor situation for a town meeting. And that's our form of government currently. So anyway, food for thought, 1,800 people, indoor setting, Andover, Connecticut. Where are we doing it? Town meeting form of government.
Outside,
Outside. There you go.
hopefully in the summer, not in the winter.
Solar panels need to get put up. We got to do it now. So, all right. What else? Anything else on that issue?
Nope.
Okay, 10E, credit card uses discussion, approved policy and forms. Right now, Eric, what are you doing with the credit cards? You're on emergency use only.
Yeah, so the treasurer asked me to just restrict it to emergency use only until a policy is established, or a better policy is established.
Well, does anyone have a problem with the policy as addressed? I know I know that the Rec Commission has a problem with the issue of who's in control of the Rec Commission line items.
You could simply, if you wanted to do that, scratch out that statement under designated supervisors and scratch out Rec Commission, or put somebody else in charge of that. That was just based on what's actually in her contract. She would be the signing authority for that, but that's obviously pretty controversial.
What page is this on?
It's 15. Starts on page 13. And really what I was trying to do is make this clear to Chris, because she's constantly asking me when things, who's supposed to be approving of various different things. So I just tried to make it as simple as possible. So we knew who the approvers were for each type of expense. Or if there's other ones you want to change, we can change those too. I'm not wed to any of those.
Eric, could you put up the language that's in controversy?
Sure. Think you should be viewing it right now. And all that is on the back of the form for credit card usage and designed to be so it automatically prints on the back of the form. So when somebody turns it in on the same time, Chris can roll it over and say, okay, this is an expense from X. The supervisor is here. The supervisor signed it. We're good. That was the intention of this.
So what was Carol bringing up tonight? What was, she said 5E, page 5E or something?
Yes.
Am I wrong?
So change.
Can you show us what was in question there?
So what she is unhappy with is the way that this is, because that mirrors what's in the employment contract for Tess Grouse, that the original concept was one of Tess's 3 hats was number 1, director of the senior center, number 2, director of the community center, number 3, overall director of the recreation. So everything that was community related mostly came under her bailiwick, which would put her as the signer for that. But the rec commission does not feel that's appropriate and doesn't feel she should be the signer on that.
And and I'm sorry, I know I'm out of line here, but we are advisory to the senior/community center director, not vice versa. And if that is something that you put in the contract, so that's in Tessa's contract and that's available, we'd be able to see that.
I'm sure you could see her contract.
We will give you access to the contract. Just 1 second before everybody goes off. Eric, for this purpose for today, change the Recreation Commission designated supervisor to Carol Lee.
And I'm to the Recreation Commission as a whole, please.
Carol. All right. Just change the Recreation Commission designee to Carol Lee.
Done.
Done. And so the rest of there's nothing else that is an issue that I read in this credit card policy. And I understand this is a financial control issue that is trying to be addressed. So use of the cards appropriately for the corresponding accounts that we have, and we can move on. Anybody else on the board have an issue?
I went through and looked. I went through and looked at the form from 2019 and this one, and the only change I saw, besides that thing about the Recreation Commission being under test, was that they wanted the slips back in 3 days, and 1 day instead of 3.
And so how are you dealing? Yes, that was correct. I'm sorry. Eric, go ahead.
So I do want to say, from my perspective, the critical difference between this form and the last form is that before, the essentially the people who were using the credit card, turned this in, and then I got it after the purchases were made. And the problem with that is that kind of conflicts with my responsibility that's put on me from the charter, which is to approve all expenses. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to have me approving expenses after the fact. The expenses ideally should be approved before the fact, unless it's an emergency. That is the shift in this.
That all sounds great, but in the
But
reality.
I didn't see where the change was in this form.
See where I put something that says all signatures required prior to purchase? That's what that is for. So whoever's technically in charge of that entity, be it a commission or a board or a department, it has to be signed by the supervisor. It has to be signed by the administrator. Boom, now you purchase it, no problem.
That sounds great, Eric, and I'm sure that we're trying to get there in practice, but that's reality. Are we doing that in all cases? When Director of Public Works goes out and buys supplies, are you signing off beforehand? Because I'm just trying to get a lay of the land, because I always had a problem with the credit card as it's used, because my issue is, do the people that are using those, especially the credit card, understanding their budget line items and not going over budget on certain items or getting close to those items? That's always in my mind. I don't think what you're saying is done all the way through every practical transaction within the town. I think it's a good, you try to get there, but that's a real cumbersome thing. And I'm not sure that you're going to do it all the way in practice. So I want to be clear to everybody that it's not totally the way it's done in practice. What I have a problem with, and what I look at credit cards about, is, especially within a town, if a group is not understanding of what their budget line items are and they go and start spending, there's overspending on the credit card, and then it becomes problematic. That's the biggest issue. While I agree with the credit card policy, I hesitate, and I look at you, Eric, and I go, you're not doing that across every transaction. It's just not possible within the organization that you're managing to do that. And I would ask you can tell me I'm wrong. I'll listen to you.
I don't see why the vast majority of things can't be done correctly. And the reason is because I control the credit card. So if I don't give somebody the credit card, they don't have the option to make the purchase. So the goal is, if you don't show up to me with the form filled out, then I'm not going to sign it and I'm not going to hand over the credit card. That's kind of the positive control as part of this.
Okay, I can understand that. I'm with you there. Now, what happens with a normal course transaction that goes? Somebody places an order that's going to be paid by check by the treasurer's office.
So if somebody orders something for the treasurer's office, it comes to me and I sign every single requisition before checks are cut. And then I give the pile of signed recs, the checks come back to me, I sign them, we have a second signer, they get paid.
Okay, much better, much better. And I'll rescind my thought, because you're not wrong, because you're worried about the payment on a transaction, and the credit card is instantaneous. So I sit there, I'm corrected. I agree with the whole thing. with the credit
Right.
card policy.
Mostly what I'm trying to cut down on is the frustration the assistant treasurer has running around when the card statement comes in, because people have purchased stuff, not filled out the forms, and trying to track down receipts and payments against the credit card that she doesn't have information for. So my goal is that anytime a purchase is made, she's got a complete paper trail. So we're clear all the way up through the audit and everybody knows who did what.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the credit card policy as presented at our meeting on 12/12/2024.
With the changes that you asked Eric to make.
With
Correct.
with the change requested to the designated supervisor for the Recreation Commission to be Carol Lee.
Second that.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. Let's move on to item 10F, a community center update, purchase of kitchen equipment and leading edge change order.
Okay, so let's deal with kitchen equipment first. Currently, we have roughly $10,000 available in a specific senior center ARPA grant. And that money was designated to finish, or was designated towards the kitchen when I submitted the grant paperwork in the beginning. Additionally, we have approximately $13,000 unspent money from the town's ARPA grant. And so my suggestion is to essentially encumber and spend both of those dollars on the kitchen to get us to the point where, we're clean with Eastern Highlands Health District for our food service license. That's kind of my objective. But that amount of money is not going to complete the kitchen, because we're going to have a large expense when we go to put in that hood system. So I'm not proposing doing that now. And I'm not proposing, we may push the stove in place, but we are not going to be actually turning that stove on until such time as we have a hood, a commercially usable hood system in place, and the Ansel fire suppression system and all of that. But that gets us using up all our money, and gets us most of the functionality we need, other than being, able to cook and use an oven. We at least have places for secure storage. We have prep spaces. We can reheat stuff. We can use crock pots. We can use stuff like that. We just, we're not going to be baking or, using the range. And that's kind of what we're going for. So there are kind of longer term, I think, two issues. The first issue is that we are already basically maxed out on our electrical panel in the basement. So as we put in the dishwasher, we are going to have to put in a sub panel to accommodate that, because we just don't have the breaker space to put it into the panel. So we're going to run up, and I don't have a firm quote for the electrical work for that. So I can't give you what that estimate is. But I think without really tapping the multi-use building fund, we can get the majority of the functionality of the kitchen now. And it makes sense to me to purchase the stuff and do it.
Well, we have to spend our ARPA funds by the end of the month.
Correct.
How much are they?
So Total between the two, there's just under $23,000 available between those two.
No, you said two. How much are ARPA funds and how much are the other funds? Tell me which exactly. Say it out, say it so we understand what it is.
So I don't have it down to the penny. It's just under $10,000 that's available for the ARPA grant for the senior center specific ARPA grant. It's 9,800 and something. I could get you an exact number, but I would have to dig a little bit. And in unspent funds in the town's ARPA grant, there's approximately $13,000 plus or minus $100.
Has Cheryl gone over that number? That's a good number.
Yes, those are the numbers I got from Cheryl.
And what about the leading edge bill? Is that paid?
It is not paid. Leading edge bill will pay out of building maintenance or multi-use building fund, one of those two.
So you're recommending,
Take it out of here and we could just not buy, leave some things out of this. That's okay too.
Okay, so there's no money on the Paradise number. What is the Paradise total?
The Paradise total is
Not there.
oh, why is it not on this form? It's 22,000 and change.
Yeah, right, I added it up too.
Why is it not on this quote?
And so, Ann, you came up to 22,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
$22,048.03.
Mhm.
Okay.
There it is, yeah.
All right. Well, personally, I would rather sit there and see the kitchen furnished and that we move along faster to sit there and get the oven in place and the hood in place so that the kitchen can be used appropriately. So, but we have to spend at least the $13,000 of the ARPA funds, like the other $10,000. You're saying it's ARPA, but what is that?
It is ARPA funds. So it's just different ARPA funds. So when ARPA came out, they put funds in a whole bunch of different buckets. Some of the money they gave to the state of Connecticut. So the state of Connecticut divvied out and they said, these are all the programs we want to support. One of those programs was senior centers. So I wrote a ARPA grant for our senior center stuff, which was granted, which gives us, right around $9,800. That's what they gave me for that grant. So that money too, I don't have to spend, but I have to encumber by January 1st, December 31st, either one.
All right, so there was no, I mean, and you're a kitchen person. Was there anything in the list of kitchen equipment that you thought was bottom line? I mean, I looked at it, I thought it was all fine, but
It was what?
do you have a problem with any of the equipment for the kitchen?
No. I wish I knew what the hood estimated cost was, because I know those are very expensive.
I'm gonna
We had
ballpark and say we're gonna be out, $20,000+ to put that hood system in. And probably
Easily.
30,000 total with the Ansel system, something in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Years ago, it cost us 35,000 to put one in the classroom in Manchester. It was a little bit bigger than the one we're going to have here, but it was 35,000 in 2002.
well, whatever it is, we need to spend it to make the best use of that facility and that kitchen. So we're gonna figure out how to do it. So if you don't and have any problems with any of the equipment. Does any of the other members have any problems with any of the other equipment for the kitchen?
No, I'm good.
Jeff?
So what about the panel though? There's Jeff Murray, there's plenty of power going into the panel. They just need new breaker space. Is that it?
Yeah, usually there's enough capacity on the main breaker, and so you can, I don't know, what are you talking, Eric? 100 amp sun panel?
Yeah, probably not even 100.
Yeah, I'd probably do 100 standard, just to come off with 100 and you'd be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see it as an issue. I mean, you know, when we were back in the design phase, both Adrian and I pushed for a sub panel, so we had plenty of breaker space in there. That was one of those things that got cut for budgetary reasons. So I think we've kind of all known, you know, that it was going to be, we're basically going to end up filling the last available spot in the next couple weeks, because Lenco is installing the automatic door openers, the handicapped accessible automatic door openers in the building. And that should hopefully be in the next couple of weeks. So that's going to take the breaker spot we do have, you know, so basically we're going to need to put in a sub panel. So that's just, we know we have to do it. So, you know, even if we didn't do the kitchen, I think we'd end up doing it at some point, because there's no power to where the fire alarm system's coming in, for instance. So we're going to need to add a, you know, a electrical connection for that at some point. And there are still other things we're going to end up doing. So
So are you going to put the sub in the kitchen area? Or you're going to put it down in the where the main panel is?
you know, I would be tempted to put it in the basement, not upstairs, but I don't have any.
I'd rather see it in the kitchen area, because if you have a problem with a piece of equipment, it's easier to reset than having to go downstairs and try to find it. And then it just cuts your wire cost down, because if you run individual branch circuits, it's almost cheaper just to run your 100 amp service up there and just be done with it. And then anything you need to bring off of that panel, and you're probably going to end up with another one down in the basement, because if we ever finish that space, we're going to need extra power. So you're probably going to end up with 2 panels eventually, because you're probably going to have to move some of those breakers that you have on the main panel right now onto the sub anyways, to accommodate the breakers for the sub panels. So, because if you're going to fill it, you're going to have to take some of those circuits off of there and put it on the sub.
Correct. Yeah, I know that.
Yep. So,
so
you're probably going to be looking at 2. You're probably going to be looking at 2 panels eventually.
All right, so we know we have the hood and electrical upgrades that need to be made to the building in total, but those are not today's issues. Am I correct, Eric? We know we're going to, not
And-
today's.
In terms of what we have to do to spend the money we have, that's use it or lose it, you know, this takes care of pretty much all the use it or lose it money that we have from those two. So, and then really the question comes in on timing, and the timing for spending the other money. Part of it is, if we get the federal funding for the community center and the generator install, you know, our money worries for that go away, because we have the money to do basically everything. If we don't get that, then we're kind of picking and choosing. And then, full disclosure, I have asked both our state rep and our state senator for a legislative appropriation to help us out with funding the community center, which I think those are the kind of projects that, you know, are potentially fundable at state level. But again, I wouldn't know whether that got in or not till May or June of this year. And I don't know whether I'll know one way or the other whether we got the federal appropriation. So the problem comes in is that, in terms of other expenditure like the hood, do we do that now, or do we wait and see whether we're getting funded or not? Because we could do it now. We have the money. It's just a question of, do we do that, or do we, do we try to fund it via grants? Because if we put it in now, we can't apply the grant towards that.
All right.
Well,
Sorry, that's kind of a long-winded explanation.
any grant money you have, we're going to sit there and move appropriately to do what's the most beneficial to the overall community center and what we need to do. Right now, we have to decide if we're making a motion to spend $23,000 that's available and used toward the kitchen equipment. Is that not right? I mean, that's what we need to do.
Correct, yeah. Let's make a motion.
I make a motion that we use the $23,000, or let me rephrase that. I make a motion that we use all the remaining ARPA funds to outfit the community center kitchen appropriately. We spend or encumber the remaining $23,000 of ARPA funds to outfit the community/senior center kitchen.
I'll second that, Jeff.
We'll say Ann seconded that.
Okay.
All right. Further discussion on that? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 4-0. All right. The leading edge change order. What information do you have on that? What do you want us to know about?
So I don't want to share my screen and show you the information. I would be happy to send the board, our time accounting for that project. I did submit that directly to Todd Lassard from Leading Edge and said, I don't think your back order is appropriate. I don't think he's convinced. I still need to sit down and have a conversation with him. But my suspicion is he is not going to agree to us not paying that.
Okay, so you're still in negotiation with Leading Edge. You're going to come to us with either a final resolution or no resolution next meeting, right?
Yep. So I guess my question is I don't want to talk about that openly.
It's not, this is a negotiation issue. You're going to deal with it in your position to finalize the value that the town should deal with related to this last work order, or however it is phrased. So the change order. So if there's anybody else here that wants to ask Eric any specific questions on this issue, go ahead. But as far as I'm concerned, you're still negotiating it. Come to us when you're finalized. I mean,
fair enough.
What are we going to do? We might tell you you're wrong when you come to us with the final answer, but that's our prerogative at that point in time. But right now, we're just throwing around nothing from our end.
Understood.
Okay. Copier contract renewal.
Okay, so after the last go around, you had asked me to go back and also investigate what it would cost us if we chose to our next contract being a lease to purchase. So I did that. I sent you all the Excel spreadsheet, which had all the options. I'll pop that up on the screen right now. The contractor's getting a little antsy. But I told him he was going to have to wait till after this meeting to get. So there is the summarized version about the options that we have relative to that, if that makes sense. The top one is our cost now, which is $232 a month. If we continue and sign another buyout lease, it goes down to $175 a month. And Then on the very bottom, you know, we have the option to purchase the existing contractors, or what do you call it?
We could pay for our current machine $194.79 a month for how long?
So as I'm looking at this, I think this form is wrong. So the bottom line is that if we do the buyout lease on the state bid, our costs go to basically $175 a month, same quick charges as we go now. So it drops about $45 a month. If we want it to be a buyout, not a buyout lease, yeah, a buyout lease, our copies go down, our cost goes up to essentially $200 a month. Actually, I think it's 197 a month. So those are the two differences. And I put those, if we stop sharing
Oh,
this.
no, go back to that spreadsheet because you sheet.
I think the spreadsheet's actually wrong though, which is why
I know the spreadsheet's wrong, but we got to talk about it. So back to the spreadsheet.
Got it. There's your spreadsheet.
Okay. All right. So let's just start with your column E. Those black and white charges have to have a 0 in them in
Yeah.
E6, E7, E8. You need to put an extra 0 in there. It's
Yep.
half a penny for black.
Correct.
Okay. And so you're going the monthly lease and so our current copier contract is $232.32.
Correct.
Can you put the extra 0 in there now? So that's what we're looking at. Like just go edit the cell, just F2. Yeah, right there. Good. Perfect. 0. Enter. And then the 1 and 9. Okay. All right. So in that column that you're on in 9, that's basically keeping the current copier we have, paying $4,250. And those are our charges per copy.
Correct.
Okay. And the one in row 7 is the state contract. $175 a month, down from $232, brand new machine, half a penny for black. Half a penny for black and 5 cents a page for color.
Yes. So ballpark, it's the identical machines we have now, other than 5+ years newer, at a cost that's considerably less. Now, if we do the other type of lease, so that at the end of the contract, we own the machine, everything else stays the same, but our monthly lease payments go up to just under $200 a month. So, and that is what you asked me to get the last time, was what that cost is, which is why I was trying to go back to the contract, because that has
Okay. And that's fine. So go back to your spreadsheet.
it's $200.48 and at the end of the 5-year period, we own it. So those are really the two options.
Okay. So if you go back to that and so increase the size of your spreadsheet so everybody can see it. Okay. So the difference between row 7 and what Eric has presented at the $200 a month ends up being $1,500 over the course of the 5 years. And we own the piece of equipment as opposed to currently what they're doing with the leases as written. If we wanted to keep that equipment and it was running well, and we only wanted to get a repair contract, which is row 9, it would cost us $4,250. So the additional $25 a month comes out to be $1,500 over the course of 5 years. The choice is, do we think we just want to continue with the $175 a month lease and save save $1,500 and then turn the piece of equipment in 5 years? That's the question in front of us. So not hearing any noise on that, I would sit there.
Just questioning, like, what's the repair contract on the lease? Like the copier breaks.
Well, there's nothing.
So-
That's what they pay the per page fee.
Right, that's all rolled into the click charge.
Okay.
Um,
I'm against, especially copiers like this that have a shelf life of 3 to 5 years. I'm against purchasing. I think it's better to lease, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
That's fine.
typically too.
That's fine. I mean,
Because
it's
you always get the latest and greatest. I mean, every couple of years we get the latest and greatest.
Yep. So in 5 years, we'll get a new copier, and
Yep.
that's fine. So,
Because we own it, and then we have after 5 years, we're gonna have to buy a new one anyway. So
Right.
well, what you do is you roll it out until the click charge goes out of control, and you sit there and deal with it. Now, I'm okay with a monthly. I'm okay with at the end of 5 years redoing the contract and getting a new one. Do we have to go to town meeting for this?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, so then I will make a motion to move forward with the Office Works copier contract for $175.48 per month buyout lease in accordance with the state bid.
seconded.
All right, further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 4-0. Okay, 11, new business, discuss and act upon a BAA letter in response.
Okay, that's,
Eric?
you all had,
Eric?
what?
Just give me a second.
Sure.
So the BAA submitted a letter to us on November 22nd after our last meeting. They raised some concerns about how the BAA was addressed during our meeting in relation to the taxes and the tax reductions that were granted by the BAA. So everybody's had this letter. Eric sent a response. I am going to let Eric talk about it, but I am going to sit there and say, before we talk about that, I have always had a problem with the tax reductions in the town. I've always voted against these when I first got here, simply because of the nature of how tax reductions are given, not only from the BAA, but from the assessor's office. I realize that some of them are legitimate and reasonable, and I understand the BAA has a hard job, but I am going to sit there and put that out in front of everybody. For more than 4 years, I voted no. And the only reason I had to start voting yes is because I had to sign them all. So I'm just saying it's a very difficult thing. And I'm going to let Eric explain himself, but I also know that in our last meeting, when Eric spoke up, I did sit there and let everybody know that I was assuming that all of the BA members that were voting on something that related to their themselves or someone close to them recused themselves from the vote, and they all did. So Eric, I will let you sit there and go with your response. I felt I needed to say that from a standpoint of when that response came in and that letter came in, but go ahead, Eric.
Sure. So first of all, I apologize to the BAA for any incorrect statements. On a monthly basis, the tax collector presents the tax refunds due to the Board of Selectmen, who need to approve them prior to refunds being issued. It is on the monthly agenda and has been for at least 5 years. So that was one of the concerns raised by the chair of the BAA, was why they weren't notified. They're on the agenda every month. The Board of Selectmen frequently asks me what the refunds are for. Per the BAA minutes dated 9/16/2024 and 9/20/21/24, There was a reduction to Linda Armstrong's bills for 2 vehicles, where she appealed her tax bill and recused herself. And then there was a separate appeal where a member of Emily Timrick's household appealed and Mrs. Timrick recused herself. So that, as far as I know, is a completely correct statement. It was not my intention to question the integrity of the chair of the BAA. He felt that I challenged his integrity. But I have long had a problem with the process of taxation and appeal, not particular individuals. I do have a significant issue with the system that's in place here. But I recognize that that's beyond the scope of my or the town's authority to really do anything about. I am hopeful that the fact that we're switching to MSRP plus a set depreciation will make the motor vehicle assessments a lot more transparent to everybody. As far as I can tell, the only appealable fact now will be what the original vehicle MSRP was. I also believe that property assessment should be done regionally, by trained and paid staff. And I've reached that conclusion from talking to a number of people that wear the same shoes that I wear, and have all had issues with the BAA process. Again, I don't think this is an issue with individuals. I think it's a process issue. I was also asked why I didn't speak directly to the BAA. The BAA is elected. They don't work for me. I have no authority to, while I have strong opinions, obviously, I don't influence the BAA's decisions, or opinions. I did, however, one year when we didn't have a clerk, which was a couple of years ago, spend 3 or 4 meetings taking minutes for the BAA. And that's kind of when I formed an opinion that the BAA should be regionalized, and there should be more training, and ability to eliminate any conflict there. So where I think my role in this is just to make sure the Board of Selectmen understands that this is the first year in a while, because of the change in motor vehicle regulations, as well as the change in state law regarding exemptions for disabled veterans, that we may very well have a flat or negative grand list. And the reality is the Board of Assessment Appeals decisions have to be accounted for, because that is going to take a significant amount of money from the ultimate grand list. And you as a board should be aware of that. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Okay, do any of the other members have issue with anything that Eric said or the BAA has addressed? Okay. 11B, pickleball and playground discussion.
Okay, so there should be at least one person left from the playground or the committee that's here from that commission. I put in the packet the latest.
Here.
What?
Scott's here.
Yeah, Scott is here. Sorry, it's tired. It's late. I'm tired. So I put the latest engineered drawings for the pickleball court in the packet, so you as a board could see. The commission has been hard at work. Beta is also here. She's also on the committee. So that's there in case you had any questions. This is before the Wetlands Commission now. It will be going for planning and zoning in December 17th to go to public hearing sometime in January. So just kind of letting you know where that committee is right now. If you want any input at this point, this is what they're kind of proposing. And I'm sure Scott and Beta can answer any questions that you
Beata.
Beata, sorry.
So, Scott, I would ask you a question. Is that one playground and it's just two different potential locations?
Oh, it's two different playgrounds, one for younger children, I think 3 to 5, and then 5 to 12.
Correct.
It looks very similar with the elements in there. So I was wondering if it was just two different locations. So that's where the rocks go. A new path put in from the parking lot to get down to the pickleball courts. And is there a drop there, Scott, from the parking lot down to the pickleball courts, or is
There
that
is it's like 3 feet.
3 feet drop? Okay.
It's gonna be done in stone. There's gonna be a drain at the bottom to drain the water away before it hits the pickleball courts.
It looks very nice. I can't wait to see it completed.
Yeah. If we can get engineering work done quicker, we could have it done quicker, but very slow on the engineering side.
Are we gonna take out some of the drainage issues that happen along the walking track in that corner closest to the playground?
No.
No, that will not be addressed as part of that. I don't even know how you would address that. I mean, the big problem is that there's a drainage pipe, that acts in some conditions to drain the field towards the river. But when the river comes up, the flow goes the opposite direction and flows onto the field through the existing pipe, from the outlet on the river. So I don't know that you could correct that unless, I don't know, maybe you could pursue some kind of one-way valve or something. But it would be hard to keep it from getting stuck with debris.
Right. Even when we were building that field, Jeff, you probably remember that when I think that it rained and it filled in there, and the company told us that they wouldn't change that. The grades are the grades. It would change a lot if they changed those grades in there, where they really could have just filled that corner.
Well, what I was thinking about is if you're putting a drain in where the pickleball courts are, is it possible to tie in that area of the edge of the field to allow it to go into the same drainage? And I don't know where you're evacuating the water to, but I'm just sitting there thinking, is there a way to tie that in to eliminate that problem that currently exists when it rains heavy in that corner of the walking track? And if you can't do it, it hasn't stopped people from using the walking track. And
no,
right.
We all realize it's in a wetland. I mean, it's right next to the river.
Floodplain,
not wetland.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So I don't
hopefully when we actually do the bridge, we eliminate a certain amount of the water backflow that gets up.
Exactly.
If we tie it all together, maybe it'll improve.
Exactly. It'll be a different scenario when the bridge gets done. We open it up another 40 feet.
Right. Yeah, the reason, Jeff, I don't think you could go back from that corner to the drain where the pickleball fields are is because the way this is, we're going to be able to get this through the wetlands is we're adding, when we put the pickleball courts in, we add some impervious surface, but then we drain it in such a way that the surface water runs to the wetlands, and everything that's now coming off the hill is captured by an interceptor trench and also goes to the wetlands. So essentially all we're doing is we're not increasing the amount of flow to the wetlands and we're not decreasing the amount of flow to the wetlands. Because what we really can't do is just, dump a pipe that makes the wetlands no longer a wetlands. It's an existing wetlands. It has to stay wetlands, but we don't want to inundate it and we don't want to dry it out. That makes sense.
Understood. Okay, looks good. And this is all going in front of the Wetlands Authority and then planning and zoning, and what's the timeline on potentially getting this done?
Well, we're gonna go back before the wetlands. We went, I guess, a week ago to the wetlands, and they're just, in the end, I think, well, I'm not gonna say what they're gonna do, but it's gonna go through the wetlands. I didn't think that they had a lot of problems with it. A couple of things that they had questions about, and it's gonna go through planning and zoning. Planning and zoning is gonna have a couple of questions, and hopefully we have the answers to those questions before it goes before planning and zoning. And those questions will be addressed. The rest of it, I don't think planning and zoning is gonna have a lot of problems with it.
Okay, and then once we get that done,
In the interim, we're gonna be making RFPs for all of it with Eric's help. So that's gonna be on their priority list.
Yep.
okay,
I just have one question. I noticed there's a well casing right where the swing set is going to be.
Yeah, because that well is well and truly abandoned and not powered anymore anyway, we technically really should be filling that in. So as
Yeah.
part of this, our intention is to, have Dalmec or one of the services pull the casing and fill in that well.
Do a slurry fill.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, there was just a question. It said well there. I just didn't know if we had a swing set right with a well casing sticking up.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah,
gotta
no,
get rid of all that.
Okay. Just quick, thanks.
okay. Anybody else on the pickleball? And the playground discussion, anything else? Okay, all right, thank you. We're gonna move on to 11C, community center staffing review.
Yeah, I just wanted to add this. I think as with new employees, right? We usually do a 3-month review and during the probationary period. I'm just wondering, Eric, have you done that yet?
Tess and I mean, have we done a formal review? No. Have we sat down and talked on an almost daily basis about where we are and where we're going? Yes. But have I sat down and done a formal review? No, I have not.
Okay. Can we please do that? And I would like to try to find out what we've done as far as when she's been employed, the type of additions we've added, courses, classes, things that she's done.
Sure.
I think it would be important for the people in town to know what she's doing. And this also brings back to the programming. I went to Columbia, Hebron, Bolton, and Coventry, and they don't seem to be using any software. Seems to be a phone sign up or come down and fill out a form. And they also seem to be doing newsletters with all the programs and things online. And I didn't really see that in our website. The only thing I saw was click for these classes or click for the editions. And it gives me a username and password that says it's restricted. So just looking at the other towns like Hebron, they've got a 10 or 12 page newsletters with what's going on in town and the available classes. And I mean, our website is there, but we really don't have something that somebody can put together and print out and who to contact and what the programs are. So it's just something, I mean, she's been there 4 months now. I'd like to see what's been added and what we put together as far as programs and a newsletter.
Sure. I mean, I suppose you could swing by the community center and get a copy of the newsletter. Here's my copy of it.
Well, is it posted on the website?
That's a question I can't answer.
Okay, because I didn't see it. I didn't see it. That's why I was questioning it. And because I was
Sure.
researching this program and trying to figure out if it was something that was really necessary or not. And I mean, Hebron's such a much bigger town and they seem to be having a lot of programs and they don't seem to be using an app. So I just was just investigating that.
Yeah, the only town I've personally looked at it that has it is Columbia. We went and got a demo of it at their facility,
Okay.
and they're
I
clearly
went to their
using it.
website. I didn't see anything. It just says call senior coordinator for these things. So I'd like to see, before the 6-month period, the value added and what, and I think it'd be good for the community to see what her accomplishments have been to date since inception when she was hired.
Fair enough.
Okay. So is that something we could do in the next couple of weeks and just send us a copy, or just, what programs and things we've done to this point?
Sure, if she's on this year, you can ask her directly if you wanted.
Yeah, but part of the personnel, I think it's part of the personnel, but we usually do reviews. So I just want to make sure that we're doing that review and we have it in file. So.
Eric,
Understood.
it will be better if you sit there and accumulate that and get it off to us.
Sure.
That would be best. Any other questions related to 11C?
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay, 11D, public works activities.
Yeah, that was the sale activities. You saw my email that I sent out about a week ago. I was on the GovDeals site and I happened to see our whacker for sale.
Yep.
It was listed needing a carburetor and a fuel shutoff valve, and the documentation that we got sent on February 15th from Jay listed a whole litany of issues with that whacker. As far as the shoe was bad, it had an oil leak, it had all kinds of issues. But what it's shown on GovDeals saying it starts and runs, needs some carburetor work and a fuel shutoff valve. And the truck is about the same. There's a detail list on the truck, showing all this rust, cracked windshield, all these issues in the document that we have, but on GovDeals, it doesn't list any of those issues. So were those issues repaired, or are they not listed on the site? So what we were
No.
given for issues does not match what is on the GovDeals site, is the listing for the items.
Well, if you're selling something, do you point out every single flaw in what you're selling?
Yes, you should.
I mean,
if those flaws were significant enough for us to get rid of this equipment, they should be listed on the auction site as issues. If it does have a major oil leak, like Jay told us it did, the whacker, it should be listed on there that it has an oil leak, but it's not. So it just I'm just questioning it, because I started to see these items listed online and they don't have nearly the issues that we were told that they had. We were going to get rid of them. So I'm just trying to find out if those issues were repaired, or if the listing just doesn't list all the issues that are wrong with the items.
well, if I was listing it, I certainly wouldn't list every flaw in a car I own. If I was putting it up for sale, I would keep my mouth shut, figure that's the next guy's problem.
Okay.
Really?
The question ends up being, does it really have the issues that we were led to believe it had when we
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because we decided to disperse it to get rid of this equipment because it had all these issues and it was all this money to fix it. But then I see it listed on GovDeals. It says it needs a shutoff valve and a carburetor rebuild kit. So
No, I'll sit there and I'll go, I understand, Jeff. I like I said, both sides of it. There's two sides to this, and I understand. My question really ends up in, did the machine really have all the issues that we were told when we authorized the Public Works to get new equipment?
Right.
The truck, absolutely. I mean, that is the reason why. So we have 3 primary plow trucks. We typically keep 1 spare. We made a decision that our 97 Ford was in way better condition than our 2004 International. That is the sole reason why we got rid of that one, even though it's also been, even though it's a newer machine, because that has been a very problematic machine.
Okay.
Is that the one that you fixed the fuel pump on? The one you got rid of?
No, I don't think that one had the fuel pump issue. It's got a steering pump. The steering pump's blown.
yeah, that's not even listed on the GovDeals site. This is the bad steering pump. So I mean, that should be something significant that you should put on there. So.
Well, I think it's more important, and maybe this is something that we as a board, I mean, this was the reason Adrian was such a good member, because he had such detailed knowledge of the mechanical issues related to equipment like that.
Well, I have pretty good knowledge too. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well,
The shoe on the whacker.
what our town administrator is saying is, to get the most money off of that, you don't put every issue. They come and inspect the equipment, and they inspect the equipment and identify the issues themselves. They're going to offer up what they offer up anyway.
But Jeff, if the
Question-
issues were bad enough for us to get rid of it,
That's the
it
issue.
those issues should be listed on the description of the item.
Well,
If it was that bad to get rid of the item, those
if I was in Eric's
issues should have been
position,
listed.
I would have sat there and said to you, Jeff, yes, they did some maintenance on it to try to make it better for the sale. That's what I would have said to you. That I would have sat there and said, Public Works sat there and did some maintenance on it to try to gussy it up to make it sell for more money. That's not what our town administrator said to you. So the issue comes back on me, and I sit there and ask the same question that all four of us are probably asking. Did it have these problems when we authorized a new unit to be purchased? And that's something we probably should discuss directly with the town administrator individually, and sit there and discuss with our public works director individually.
I would like to do that.
And as we go through and try to upgrade our equipment, which as a town, we need to upgrade the equipment. There's no doubt that what Eric has done over the last few years has been to improve our equipment inventory and the aging of the inventory of our equipment. And listen, it's been positive, but we're going to get it to a point where money is a little tighter, and we got to make sure that we're doing a little bit better job understanding the problems when Public Works asks us for additional equipment.
Yeah, I'm not making any accusations. I just was asking which description is, and if it was repaired,
Is
it was
more
done,
accurate.
then that's fine. That's fine. But I just want to find out, I mean, which description is accurate? The one we were given on February 15th, or the one that's on Gov Deals?
Totally understand.
Okay.
Right.
Jeff, I think you have to assume if you're buying a 20-plus-year-old plow truck, it is going to be a piece of junk. Right now, as far as I know on Gov Deals, it's, the highest bid is around $5,000 for that.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
we were offered 10,000 as a trade-in, and we turned it down.
Yeah, but we put it on Gov Deals because that was
No,
not necessarily how we would
I
have
never
done
said
it.
no, Eric, that is not true. That was Jay's decision, and it says that right in the document that I have dated February 15th. It says he could get $20,000 for a private party or through an auction site. That was Jay's decision, not mine. The whacker I asked about the whacker last month or a couple months ago, but I did not say anything about the truck. That was Jay's decision.
That is something we'll sit there and see what happens when the bids come out. I mean, we can pull this back, correct?
If it closes on, I think, the 15th or 16th, guessing based on other units that are on sale at Gov Deals right now, it's probably going to get $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 will be the final bid, would be my guess.
Well, that's not a win for the town. Okay.
So is that a no reserve auction that they take it?
There's no reserve, as I understand it, there's no reserve price on it, but the town has to accept or reject the bid when the auction closes. So you don't have to say yes.
Okay.
And if you want to go down and inspect it at Public Works and go over it with Jay, I'm sure he would be happy to do that with you. I certainly don't have any issue with that.
Okay. Any other issues related to the public works activities, Jeff?
No, those are the only two I can see. I mean, I don't know what happened with the roadside mower or any of those other items, but those are the only two that I really have documentation on that were listed publicly, and I don't know what was sent to auction. Like I said, I am not privy to any of those documents.
Okay. All right, if we're done with that item, I think we're moving on to item 12, approval of minute meetings for our 10-7 regular meeting, 10-21 special meeting, and the 11-12 regular meeting minutes. Anybody have any issues with the minutes as posted?
So I just have one thing, Anne Creme sent around a thing of things she wanted added to the October 7th Board of Selectmen meeting. Did that get added, or do you want to append that to the approval to add? I honestly didn't review the minutes that are posted there. I didn't see anything come in from Marina that they were revised, though.
And did you amend that minutes?
Well, I wasn't sure how to amend. I wrote up what I wanted to add and I emailed it to all of you and Marina. And I don't know what has happened with it at this point.
I remember when,
Yeah, there it is.
remember when that happened, Jeff said for you to go amend the meeting minutes.
Well,
Yeah.
why don't we sit there and approve the meeting minutes with Ann's amendment?
Right. I can't get into the packet and change it there. So I had to just send it in this way.
Right, and yeah, and you sent that to me, I think, yesterday, but I don't
Yeah.
think you CC'd me when you originally sent it
No,
around, so I
hadn't
never knew
originally.
you sent it to Marina, so I would
I
have
sent it to Marina. Yeah.
checked on that if I had known, but that's okay. You know, we can have it added.
Okay,
Not a-
so does anybody have any problem with any of the other minutes? Okay, so and Ann, that was the 10-7 minutes, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the 10-7-2024 regular meeting minutes with the addendum provided by select person Ann Creme.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll make a motion that we approve the 10-21-2024 special meeting minutes and the 11-12-2024 regular meeting minutes as presented. Anybody gonna second that?
Second.
Scott Person, second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Or nothing. Okay. The treasurer's report was included. Any questions? Anybody want to make any comments? Okay. The tax collector's report.
It, she gave us a report and an idea about tax sales. She had a long letter and gave some suggestions about, upcoming tax sales.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody read that, but
Yeah.
it was a very good letter, and doing a very good job with that. She's reduced the taxes from the previous 5 years down to, since she's been on there, by $200,000.
Yeah.
The amount of owed taxes. And then she made some suggestions about the tax sales. Anybody that's hasn't paid in 10 years, we should have a tax sale.
Yeah.
You
Or
want me
over
to
20
share that?
or over $20,000.
So you can look at it?
I have it up. I mean, you can put it up to show the public, but no, all of those issues appear to be reasonable. I mean, the biggest issue for tax collections for me is always the personal property taxes. Um, small business, personal property taxes, because they up and move, or they go out of business and we never see that money.
What I'm saying is Kate's digging into this job and she's doing a really good job. I think that we, you know, need to look into this and make some decision. I don't think that, I think 10 years is a little much myself. Less than that, I think.
Well, let's sit there and ask Kate to tell us the procedures or the policies that she'd like to put in place, and the application of the procedures. And I know she put it in the letter, but if she sits there and breaks them down in a really small format, we can sit there and improve them.
Yeah. Well, she did here. She did. Maybe we could have her come on, Eric, next month and talk about this.
Well, if you want to do that, I'd be happy to have her come here and have that discussion with you directly. But
Put it
seems to
on.
me-
Huh?
We'll
put her on early in the meeting.
We'll ask her to come the next meeting, which should be on a Monday. She should be in the off. Well, she probably doesn't have that. Let's put it on the agenda for next month, Eric, to sit there and look at the policies that the tax collector would like to implement so that we can get them approved.
Okay, I think that would be good.
Okay. Anything else under the tax collector's reports? Okay. We have in front of us a refund request for the tax collector. Total refunds of $4,200, $4,216.05. Most related to certificate of changes through the assessor's office, or I mean, that's not from the tax collector's office. That's those are changes in the assessor's office, and then an overpayment for one taxpayer and two BAA adjustments of $127.63 and $106.33. So my favorite thing, I'll make a motion that we approve the tax refunds of $4,216.05.
Jeff?
Anybody gonna second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, Scott seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Or nothing. Okay, departmental reports. We had a report from the assessor's office.
You know, it's just the same thing. They used to give us the permits, who had the permits in town, and what they were doing. I don't see that again. And I always wanted to see how much, this is not department reports, be in the treasurer's report, how much money we made in the STIF account.
I can probably get you how much money we made in the STIF account, but Eric, there's a report from the building department at $8,400.52 in permits. Is that with the new policy in place, or have we implemented it?
I have not checked to see that he's filling out the paperwork, but I've gone over it with the building official, and he is supposed to be implementing it already.
Okay. I would greatly appreciate if you would look at that and verify that he is implementing it.
he's going over the number that the applicants are telling us that the project is costing.
We,
Understood.
we approved a whole process of
Yeah, we did.
how it
Correct.
was going to happen, in the hopes that it would increase our
Revenue.
So Scott, for the period July through October, so how many months is that? So July, August, September, October, 4 months. We have earned $73,587.63 in the stiff account. So approximately $18,396 a month.
Mhm. So these next months should be good. And that was on how much money?
I'm not sure they included the balance sheet for me.
So that goes up and down, on a monthly basis. Because we basically move money back and forth, so we maintain a minimum cushion so we can pay bills.
Yeah, there is a balance at the end of October, $3,700,812 in the stiff account. So, let's sit there and say 3,700,000, 812 times 0.055, Eric, somewhere in that ballpark. We'll say 5.
Yeah, I think we're getting, the best we've gotten is around 5%.
Okay. So if we were at 5%, Scott, on that balance, if we could keep that balance in long term, it'd be $185,000 in the course of a year. So we're actually a little bit ahead of that number. So,
And I was pretty conservative. I think I only budgeted it as $140,000 in income.
I thought you budgeted it for a lot less, to be really honest. No, you did 140,000. So,
5.5 better than zero that we were getting.
better than nothing. So
but it's not what the market is.
It's working for us.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we were through the assessor's office. We were through the tax collectors. We did the tax refunds, the assessor's office, the building department, the register of voters, 79 voters processed, 90% turnout. Oh, let's look at that. 870 early voters and 26 same-day registrants. So, Wally and Linda do a tremendous job in that office. We're really lucky to have the two of them. They're both very good. They're very good and they care. So we should look at what they requested from us as far as giving them some additional space moving forward, especially related to these unfunded mandates by the state to sit there and do this. And hopefully they make some adjustments to it. I think early voting is great. I just think maybe they could make some adjustments to it, especially for small towns like ours. It would help.
And we could make them a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I will say straight out, that was a mistake on my part, because I didn't want to tie up the community room. And we didn't really have internet capability at that point in the community center. Because we had essentially 0 people come to early voting, the previous 3 times we've been forced to, I was expecting a much lower turnout and that they would be essentially sitting there with nobody showing up. So I totally missed, how popular early voting turned out to be. And I definitely made the wrong decision, and leaving them where they were as opposed to moving them into the community room. That is definitely a hit on me.
Well, let's sit there and rectify it next time around and do better on it and give them a little bit more space to conduct that business. And hopefully everybody sits there and goes and does, the absentee ballot way of moving forward, but we'll see. Right? Okay. Department of Public Works, Jay provided what they're doing. I know they did some work around the lake, scraping the side of the road to try to make it better for flow. Any questions for Public Works for Eric? Okay. And that's our last report that we received from the other departments. So anybody have any question for any of the departments for Eric?
Transfer station. I was there Saturday. I'm assuming our cardboard dumpster's been replaced.
That's a good question. I don't
It
know.
is full. And is there a way we can make sure that we have 2 people staffed there on Saturdays? We were only I think it was just Dominic, for a time on Saturday. And he was overwhelmed. The cardboard was closed and people were dumping huge boxes in the recycling. And it was jamming it up. He was trying to clear it and he was overwhelmed. And it's just, we need 2 people there on the weekends.
Jeff, one of the problems is there used to be a size on the cardboard. Everybody's supposed to cut it. I think it was
Yep.
18 by
Yeah,
24.
but the problem is when there's one guy and he's over there at the
I
book
know.
doing other stuff, you can't watch everything. And these
You
just, I was trying to help him clear the compactors because it was so backed up and he was overwhelmed.
There used to be a sign up there that it was 18, I think it was 18 by 24. If everybody would cut their stuff down the size it's supposed to be, it would go a lot.
Somebody put a full-size TV box in there uncut.
Right.
which,
Ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. But the problem is if there's 2 guys there, one guy could be watching the trash and the recyclables, and the other guy could be over there bulky. So it's just, if we could make sure somehow by, I know people do get sick at last minute and things do happen, but if we know somebody's going to be out, if we could get it staffed, it would be probably helpful.
We got to address that size thing, Eric. I asked Dom about that every time because everybody comes up, just like Jeff Murray is saying, these huge boxes, they just stuff them in there and they just walk away.
Well, if we have the cardboard dumpster back and everybody flattens their stuff, that's not an issue, but that was
Right.
full and he was just overwhelmed. I mean, it was full. It was really busy on Saturday and he was trying to run all the compactors and trying to see what people were doing with bulky and the oil and everything. And it was kind of chaos up there for a little bit. So,
Yeah. And speaking of that, I did have a conversation with Dominic. I am planning to have the transfer station open the day after Christmas. Wednesday is the 25th. But when in the past, when we've not had a day between then and the first Saturday is a complete, cluster. So in the past couple of years, we've been trying to open the dump one time during the week. So we're going to do it Thursday, the day after Christmas, and publicize that. Normally we don't get overwhelmed that weekday, but it takes a lot of the pressure off of the Saturday, and I think it's appropriate to do. We do obviously have to pay time and a half because it is technically a town holiday. So, but that's my intention to do that unless you have a different idea.
I guess everybody's going to be off and we'll be busy. So,
Oh, if you're concerned about it, we can staff it with 2. I was planning on only staffing it with 1, but because in the past that's worked out okay.
it's just we get so much if we have a cardboard dumpster, it probably won't be a problem, but
Yeah.
we probably need to get that tipped. Make sure it's empty for the 26th.
Or Christmas.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I would think before Christmas, we need to have everything dumped.
It probably wouldn't hurt to have 2 people there because with the wrapping paper and people just dumping things where they're not supposed to go, it would probably make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
All right. Any other questions for any other departments? Okay, item 16, correspondence. Anything, Eric? Nope.
One thing. So to the Board of Selectmen from Jed Larson, subject Connecticut General Statutes 824 referral. Reference the town letter I sent them requesting it. In reference to A, the town of Andover requested the Planning and Zoning Commission review the upcoming replacement of the bridge on Bunker Hill Road as required under Connecticut General Statutes. The Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed the proposed bridge replacement and has voted that this is consistent with maintaining a safe, high-quality life for the people as discussed in the current plan of conservation and development.
Okay, thank you. By the way, Jed Larson is chairperson of the planning and zoning, but he also moderated the tri-board meeting. He did a wonderful job. Jed is very good at those types of situations, so I'd like to thank him publicly.
Right.
And now we're going to move on to public speak unless somebody wants to stop me before I go there. Okay, I'm going to start with Emily Timrick.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
We have a letter from the BAA signed by Al Roy, Linda Armstrong, and myself. And Al is out of state and Linda went to the Bushmill tonight, so they asked me to present this. The letter is to address the inaccurate and inappropriate letter submitted by Eric Anderson in the packet in the Board of Selectmen meeting dated today, in response to a BAA letter that we submitted November 22nd. Since this letter is in the packet, published online, and in the meeting agenda, this letter is necessary. The letter is under agenda item 11A and information on page 36, 37 in the packet. Once again, there is false information. Comment 1. Then a separate appeal where a member of Emily Timrick's household, Richard Timrick, appealed and Emily Timrick recused herself. This information is false. Richard Timrick is not part of Emily Timrick's household. The legal definition of a household is any individual or group of individuals living together in the same address as one economic unit. The false information challenges the integrity of the BAA. Comment 2. I was incorrect and I should have stated that a BAA member as well as a family member of a different BAA member was granted a reduction. This is false information. No family member of a different BAA member was granted a reduction. Again, this false information challenges the integrity of the BAA. Comment 3. My issues have been with the process of taxation and appeal. I believe reliance on property tax and motor vehicle tax is an inherent unfair method of taxation and leads to a lot of problems. What is being called a process is actually Connecticut statutes, which is the law. It amazes us that the town administrator does not support or believe in Connecticut statutes. This lack of support demoralizes the integrity of the BAA. The BAA is a voluntary elected position, which is unpaid. The elected position becomes a more difficult job when the town of Andover administrator publicly disagrees with Connecticut statutes. Comment 4. I am hopeful that switching to an MSRP with a set depreciation basis for assessment will make the motor vehicle assessments more transparent to everyone. In my mind, the only applicable fact will now be with the MSRP. There should be no more appeals based on condition or mileage. With the changes in motor vehicle for next year, the Connecticut statutes will still allow the taxpayer to appeal and be heard by the BAA if they are aggrieved. The town administrator should not be providing information to the taxpayers of this town that eliminates their rights. Comment 5. My opinion that the role of the BAA needs to be regionalized to increase professionalism and eliminate any inherent conflict. This comment demoralizes the integrity of the BAA. Comment 6. My role is simply to appraise the Board of Selectmen so that they can understand the budget impacts of decisions made by other boards. Board of Assessment Appeal decisions have the direct impact on the grand list. The BAA reductions from the motor vehicle September reductions were $869. The recent CAOC corrections made by the assessor's office was $4,074. There's more of an issue with the budget impacts with the assessor's office corrections than what was done by the BAA. Once again, false comments and opinions made by the town administrator can create false assumptions and discord among Andover citizens and duly elected BAA. Town officials should strive for fair and honest information and not public discord. This behavior shown by the town administrator, Eric Anderson, is destructive and decisive and should not be allowed in an Andover public meeting. The town administrator should respect and enforce the Connecticut statutes and the BAA and should not use the Board of Selectmen meeting as a means to criticize elected officials in a complete disregard of rules of basic civility. This letter is not a true apology, but rather an excuse to blame the Connecticut statutes that he does not agree with. So we're submitting this letter and we would like to include it in the minutes.
Okay. Diane Grenier.
There we go. Hello. I just want to thank Beata and Alicia for coming forward here to want to serve on the Board of Selectmen, along with, I was surprised with many people had thrown their hats in the ring. We had John Godwin and Steve King a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or so. Dave Gustanian, who withdrew tonight. And at the RTC meeting last month, we had Kathy DeRozier and Leanne Hutchinson had thrown their names up. And again, I'm surprised. That's a lot of people that have come forward to wanted to serve on the Board of Selectmen. And I applaud all of them. I think that's great. But I can't help but express my disappointment with the Board of Selectmen for not being able to decide. 2 tie votes here. These are all great candidates. Any one of these would have been a great addition to the Board of Selectmen. And I don't know how you guys are going to solve this 2-2 all the time. How many more people do you think are out there that are going to want to serve on the Board of Selectmen? Like I said, there were several here, and I don't know how you guys are going to do it, but again, disappointed that you can't come to some decision here. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Carol Lee.
I just would like to add that the members of the Recreation Commission will be formally logging a written complaint regarding statements made by the town administrator during the November 12th Board of Selectmen meeting. His statements were unprofessional and untrue. Even though he stated he wasn't trying to pick on the Rec Commission, his accusations proved to the contrary. We believe that the statements made by our town administrator on a public platform were disrespectful and an attempt to cause undue influence on the Board of Selectmen and negatively bias any Andover resident who was logged into the meeting. We will be sending each member of the Board of Selectmen our letter of complaint next week, and we would like our complaint addressed at the January Board of Selectmen meeting. I would also like to add, on behalf of the Registrar of Voters, this was the first time that we had early voting. We received several $1,000s in grant money to cover that. We were told to anticipate a very large turnout, so that was not anything that was a surprise. And they were forced to work in the basement of the town office building in cramped conditions, and they had to set up the polling booths in the lower vault. And when a ballast blew out in the lower vault, I went down and changed all 8 of the light bulbs, hoping that it was a light bulb, but it ended up being a ballast. So the people in those polling booths were having difficulty seeing. And I just wanted to add that being denied use of a community room that nobody used during that 2-week period was just not right.
Liz Lokech.
Hi, sorry, trying to find my mute. I so many thoughts. One thing about the voting, I would like to thank our registrars for how they handled that situation. I also felt that the location of the early voting was not great, especially considering the charter vote. In that room, it was so small, and trying to read all those questions with all the noise, it was so hard to concentrate. But they did the best with what they had at the time. So I just want to thank them for a job well done with the resources that they had. And want to wish everybody a happy holiday, and get on to next year.
All right. Shannon Loudon.
Nothing to say except thanks for spending all this time and doing what you do for the town. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Is Jerry Creme on with you, Shannon? Does he?
Nope, I tried to change that, but I wasn't able to. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Joanne Ebert.
I just wanted to echo what Diane Grenier had said earlier about thanking the two seemingly qualified candidates for putting their hat in the ring to join you all on the Board of Selectmen. I too am disappointed that with all of the good candidates that have come forward, we all have our favorites, but I just think it's important for the town that we get another person in there, and just, disappointed that we can't do that yet. But a little bit disappointed that we waited tonight, and I felt like they deserved a little bit more of an explanation of, I understand the vote went on and it was 2-2, but then we dropped it. We didn't hear what was going to happen next or what your plans were, and it just kind of abruptly switched and went to the next agenda item. And I just think you do a good job. It's just I thought they deserved just a little more of an explanation of what's coming next. So, thank you.
Leanne Hutchinson.
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Alicia Lee.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Bob Hamburger.
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. And then I have a phone number. I'm not sure. I think it's ends in 4294.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? Anybody want to add to their comments or no? Okay. I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday. Enjoy and a happy new year. So enjoy the rest of the season, and I'm looking forward to next year.